Another day here at the UNCCD COP16. Good morning, my friends, and thank you very much for watching us at our show through YouTube. The first week is over, and actually we are starting the final week here at the UNCCD COP16. This is not yet finished, so if you have remaining meetings and some events to attend, this is your final chance. Okay, today we are talking about science, innovation, and also technology, and how to leverage to effectively link mainstream science with diverse knowledge systems, including indigenous knowledge and citizen science, helping bridge data gaps and facilitate holistic, innovative, inclusive, and context-appropriate land and ecosystem restoration actions, as well as informed capacity. So to talk about this topic, let me start today with my amazing guest. And we continue with this round of interviews, and with me is Lee Winowicki, Global Research Lead of the World Agroforestry. Thank you very much, Lee, for being with us today.
Thank you.
All right, we were like in the middle of music and some music of here, like very traditional music, so we need to stop for a while, but now we are ready, and we are going to talk about science. And I want to ask you why science is so important into land degradation objectives.
Great, thank you so much. Yes, as a soil scientist, I love talking about science and really how we can translate science into action. And as you know, some of the pillars of the UNCCD, including this COP16 here in Riyadh, are around land restoration, youth engagement, land degradation neutrality, women's rights, tenure. And really the conversations have been evolving over the years to have more evidence-based policy and practice, evidence-based multi-stakeholder processes. So as a scientist, it's our role to really translate that science into digestible forms instead of just keeping it shelved somewhere collecting dust. So bringing science to life. Because when we're talking about landscape restoration, we really need science in terms of prioritizing where to implement, what to implement, informing these actions, and then really we use science to track how these interventions are doing over time, and of course to continually adapt and improve the interventions. So when I'm thinking about science, I'm particularly thinking about soil health monitoring, land degradation monitoring, vegetation monitoring, developing robust scientific databases to really produce maps and to track changes over time.
This is so interesting what you are saying, and it sounds, it makes me feel like I want to know more. So the next question is, how do you think it's possible sometimes to take science outside of the walls of the COP, for example, or in other words, to make science more accessible to everyone?
Okay, well, let me see how to answer that. As a soil scientist, we're really trying to motivate people to raise awareness about the critical role of healthy soil. And let me just tell you, soil is the biologically active layer of the Earth's surface. So one way to motivate people is to really bring people into the field with farmers, with pastoralists, putting your hands in the soil, maybe doing some, visual analysis, feeling and looking at the soil. What we do at C4eCraft is really try to completely change the paradigm of monitoring. So we engage with farmers, pastoralists, forest managers, land managers in the data collection. So people are really getting their hands dirty. People are really measuring the trees. People are really measuring the distance to the next perennial grass, so that when the data comes out and into tables, graphs, then farmers and pastoralists are again engaging in the interpretation of these data. And then the idea is to really bring these data to life to inform further practice and policy. So I really think people need to be engaged along the whole process, because showing someone a beautiful map can have impact, but not really the kind of impact we're aiming for.
Totally. And what strategies can be employed to ensure that integrate like science, technology, and innovation approaches are inclusive, context appropriate, and accessible to marginalized communities?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think it's really important that we make an effort. So unfortunately, this requires making an effort, right? You really have to make an effort to reach marginalized communities. So again, bringing a fancy map with a legend in English probably
it's not going to be working.
Yeah, it's not going to be worth it. So I think it's about adapting how we communicate, and really we're working a lot with youth right now. We have a Youth for Soil initiative, and it's just exploding. And we're kind of having this philosophy that yes, youth, need mentees, but also, or mentors, but also the mentors can be mentees.
Yeah.
So I think really acknowledging this mutual exchange of information will help us change this paradigm.
It seems like, because we were having like an interview talking about the same topic, like about the young people interesting or more interesting in science. So it seems like nowadays it's like there's more people interested actually in science and to know more and to get involved, right?
Yeah, thanks for saying that, because I'm really excited as a scientist, and I'm glad that you're observing that trend. I think in soil science in particular, if I could just take a step back, we were so siloed for a long time, and despite the critical importance of soils for climate change mitigation adaptation through storing carbon in soil, for hydrologic function, regulating the water cycle, purifying the water. Soil contributes to biodiversity, the most biodiverse ecosystem in the world, and of course, healthy soil provides nutritious, food for plants and animals. However, oftentimes scientists weren't very good at communicating, so they really were siloed and maybe internal looking. And while I believe scientists need deep domain knowledge, we also need to be able to communicate to people outside our domain. And I think there's a higher emphasis of communication, so scientists are being forced to communicate, coming to COP. I guarantee you 10 years ago there were not a lot of scientists at any of these COPs, and now we're trying to raise awareness about the role of science to inform these interventions. So thank you for pointing that out.
Thanks to you, because that's what the world needs, and thank you very much for your knowledge and your enthusiasm. You should be teaching scientists how to communicate.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, my friends, we are here in Science Day in the UNCCD COP16, and I had the pleasure to interview Wael Busha, General Manager in Ministry of Environment, Water and Agriculture, KSA, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Mr. Busha, we are going to talk about science. So I'm going to kick off this conversation asking you why it's essential to move beyond a linear view of science, technology, and innovation to address interconnected and complex global challenges like, for example, land degradation?
Well, usually science maybe in the past did not utilize its power to work exactly on things related to what the people need. We are always, sometimes when we think about science as a pure science without being attracted or interactive with the need of the people, it will be a kind of a useless science. But we need we need the scientists and science institute to think about what do we need in humanity, what does it need regarding land degradation, regarding food security, regarding water security, biodiversity and so on, so that really the scientific effort will have a kind of a direct result to resolve such an important issue like land degradation and drought and other things. So as you mentioned, it is not enough anymore to have a science which is away from what we need to achieve and what we need to change. So we do need the scientists and their effort to work side by side with the communities, with the governments, with the non-state actors also, and with the NGOs, to know exactly what is the community need and how can scientific solution can help with that.
Sometimes science is kind of complex or complicated to explain to people from, abroad or people from outside these high-level conversations. How do you think is the proper way to explain them the science, innovation, and technology when sometimes they cannot understand what we are doing here?
Yeah, raising awareness is one of their important things, so that they have to kind of create a very easy way to deliver those important messages to the people, to the common people and to the public, I mean. So the scientists are I mean, responsible for having the correct information, and maybe cooperating with the NGOs, with media, for example, since you are familiar with that, will help in delivering the message to the normal people so that they can understand and they can know what is their role in that. As you mentioned, talking in a very high level dialogue between scientists is very good, but this will not convey the message that we would like to convey to the people,
yeah,
unless it is designed in a proper way.
We were talking before the interview about, for example, the efforts it took to create this amazing pavilion and the amazing conversations, and about, for example, the new actions that you guys are taking in here to accomplish the goals. One of them is the Riyadh Action Agenda that you mentioned. What do you think is important and relevant and different to the others, COP?
Yeah, the Riyadh Action Agenda is a great opportunity to act as an umbrella of all initiatives that are created by all stakeholders here in COP, state actors or non-state actors, and to engage them all in one direction. So now we are not thinking about what we will do during these 2 weeks. We are thinking what we will do in the next 2 years. So the Riyadh Action Agenda should help in, let's say, moderating or assisting the initiative owners to know exactly what they should do and move forward and collect the efforts and facilitate those initiative owners so that we can achieve realistic goals and achieve a kind of results that will solve the issues that the whole convention was created for: land degradation, desertification, drought. There is a huge problems all over the world regarding these sensitive subjects, and this is the time to act to resolve those problems. And I think Riyadh Action Agenda is, as I said, is a kind of an umbrella that collect all those efforts and just design it or wrap it in a very good way, so that we will have a kind of result from this COP.
That's what everybody hopes. So, Mr. Wadbusha, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
So we continue with these amazing conversations, and I'm here with Bernadette Aracuilles, Senior Manager for Africa Restoration Program in the World Resources Institute. So thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Bernadette, we're going to talk about science, innovation, and technology, and everything what is happening here at the COP16 in Riyadh. So I'm going to start the conversation asking you, what innovative methods do you think, or methodologies, are currently being used to connect mainstream science and sustainable land management, for example?
No, that's a really good question, and one that really can help me share more about the work that we are supporting at the World Resources Institute. And maybe to share some context, we are supporting locally led restoration efforts in Africa. And if I can put it in general terms, really think about, working with farmers, community-led association, locally led restoration businesses to support local people in adopting tree-based restoration interventions. And really, at the end of the day, what we see as a result of that adoption is the growth or the establishment of agroforestry plantations. And this is not a tricky thing to measure. This is actually not an easy thing to measure, because when you look at the typical mapping techniques, monitoring techniques, they were really designed to cover changes in land use, changes in land cover, but they don't provide granular data that show something, a change such as agroforestry, which are trees mixed with croplands. Just one example. So here's where I come to the innovation part. We really set out to understand how can we actually recognize these locally led restoration efforts in African ecosystems that really materialize as agroforestry. And we explored the power of satellite technology to map agroforestry systems. we ran multiple trial and error, but I think what really helped us really move forward is our partnership with Facebook Meta, because they have this power of, data processing power that really allow us to handle large, massive data sets to be able to process an imagery and start to understand where trees are appearing in the landscape. So that's one component. And I think another component is leveraging some innovations that are being developed by other sectors, such as the health sector. We really are using now this algorithm that was developed in the health sector to look at cells abnormalities, like cancer, tumor, but now we are using the same approach to understand, okay, within the landscape, where are the trees, where are the shrubs? And really it has been a very successful partnership. And at the end of it, we've been able to produce, wall-to-wall maps that show individual trees within croplands, which therefore recognize really the efforts of this community, and really we are able to put on the map the activities that they are doing. It's important data sets that help us understand where restoration is happening, but also help us understand at that detailed farm level where we need more trees so that we can, reverse the land degradation.
What you mentioned is just amazing. I mean, the technology and how, private companies work with, for example, non-state actors or state actors. So how do you think is the best strategy to spread this message and to tell the rest of the world how the technologies you are using and how the science is improving to get better in this?
Well, the first approach is like opportunity like this. We are at UNCCD COP in Riyadh, and we've had actually engaged into sessions where we are presenting this work. But I think as a community in this restoration space, we need to do a better job really communicating about these solutions. And it's really one of the things I appreciate about this COP. I've been hearing about what are the solutions, what are the things that are working, and what are the things that are not working, so that actually we warn other people so that they don't invest time and resources into something that have been tasted and failed elsewhere. So really, again, using this platform to communicate about those best successes, but even beyond that, how do we make this information easily accessible, discoverable on the web somewhere, so that people know, oh, actually this speaks to my need, this speaks to my gaps. I think opportunities like that should be leveraged. Yeah.
All right, Bernadette Aracuye, thank you very much for being with us and asking and answering these amazing questions.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, that's it for today, and remember that tomorrow we are going to explore another amazing day here at the UNCCD COP16, Resilience Day. And remember to subscribe to our LinkedIn newsletter, Riyadh in Action. See you tomorrow.